In the regular meeting of the East Bay Charter Township Board, and we'll call the meeting to order, and if you'll begin with me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do roll call.
Lyle.
Here.
Walters.
Present.
Cook.
Here.
A friend.
Here.
And it's noted that Bartlett, Cortade are absent and excused.
All right, very good, thank you. Let's see, the agenda. There is a review for conflict of interest. On our agenda, we have under consent agenda, pretty normal items of the board meeting minutes. We do have a few other items of tribal grant awards, a nonprofit recognition for a gaming license, as well as a brownfield development and reimbursement agreement that has previously been through our process. It's the final review and agreement to that development and reimbursement. Under regular business before the Township Board, we do have a zoning amendment, 126 steep slopes, the Corridor Improvement Authority tax increment financing and development plan, 3 Mile Trail Phase 2 transportation alternatives program grant application. Under ambulance, we have personnel, and then late this afternoon, I did add the sale of the ambulance that I inadvertently left off on Friday. We have sewer and water rates as well as fire line rates and billing frequency, bond authorizing resolution for East Bay and Acme Township Sewer Project, and the updated vehicle use policy. Does anyone have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, is there approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Lyle and Cook move to approve the agenda. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? That passes unanimously. And we will move on to public comment. This is the opportunity for public comment. If you would like to speak to the board and give us your perspective, you're welcome to stand up and say hello and introduce yourself. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move on to correspondence and reports. You have pretty standard items that you'll see for correspondence and reports. The Grand Traverse County Road Commission weekly updates, treasurer's report, supervisor's log, and then we did provide the links for the regular meetings. With that, are there any questions or comments on those, or we can move forward to the consent agenda? Okay, we will move forward to the consent agenda. And Ann, will you go over that, please?
Certainly. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent agenda, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. You have tonight board minutes from January 12th, 2026, regular meeting, recommend approval. From the general fund, check numbers 2012028 through 20197 in the amount of $115,064.15. From the emergency fund, check numbers 6130 through 6160 for $315,343.75. There were no checks issued from the receiving fund. The escrow fund, check numbers 2130 through 2132 in the amount of $17,403.65. There were no checks issued from the roads SAD fund, and there were 2 payrolls. One from December 28th, 2025 through January 11th, 2026, check number 7992 through 7995, and that totaled $64,559.76. And the payroll dated January 12th through January 24th, 2026, check number 7996 through 7998, totaled $63,662.47. Total payroll of $128,222.23, and total amount paid $576,033. $1,000,000.78. We had no proposed budget adjustments in 3 other items: 2% tribal grant awards, nonprofit recognition for a gaming license, and Crimson Central Park Apartments brownfield development and reimbursement agreement.
Thank you very much. Would any member of the board like anything removed from the consent agenda, placed on the regular agenda?
Beth,
Yes,
I would like the brownfield agreement.
sure. We will move the brownfield agreement. Let's go ahead and put that, because I'm not sure what your questions will be, we will put that between, after item C and before D, if you'll remind me, because Claire will still be here just in case the question involves the planning side of that as well. Okay, with the brownfield removed, would any member of the public like anything removed? Or staff? Okay, we will bring that back to the board for a motion, which would be for the consent agenda with the removal of the item of the brownfield development and reimbursement agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the brownfield reimbursement agreement.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Walters and support by Cook for the consent agenda with the removal of the development agreement. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Walters.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Lyle.
No.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, we will move forward to the business before the Township Board. First on our agenda is we have the zoning amendment for the steep slopes. I will take just a brief minute to thank Karen Robinson for being here and let you know that your item did pass on the consent agenda.
I'm going to go home and check on my family.
Very good. We'll get that to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll come up tomorrow.
Okay, sounds
Thanks a
good.
lot, Beth.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we are on the zoning amendment. Claire?
Okay, good evening. So you may recall I was before you, I think in November, with the steep slope zoning amendment, and we had some good discussion on it. I think the board provided some really helpful feedback that we went back and took a closer look at this amendment with the Planning Commission. And just to summarize, my takeaway from the board was that there was concerns that you were kind of maybe over-regulating in some areas that were not environmentally sensitive on like a single-family home, for example, like someone that has a steep slope, but they're not anywhere near a lake, and it's just one person looking to build a home. So the Planning Commission went back and took a second look at this ordinance, and you'll see this flow chart. I think this is helpful that we just put together. It's not going to be in the ordinance, but it kind of helps you understand how we are proposing to regulate steep slopes. I'll step back and say the Planning Commission worked for a couple months on the ordinance. They held a public hearing last week at their February meeting and unanimously recommended this new amendment to the Township Board. So what we're looking at doing is regulating steep slopes. That's anything over 25% slope. And it goes into 2 categories. So if you're on a steep slope, and you require site plan review, so your commercial use, your industrial, your multifamily, then it doesn't matter where you are in the township, you need to still adhere to these steep slope protections if you're doing like a commercial or multifamily development. If you are located on a steep slope and you're in an environmentally sensitive area, similarly, you need to adhere to these protections. So if the development that you're looking to do is within 50 feet of a lake or a stream or river, or if you're, near wetlands, then you would need to meet these requirements. If you are, looking to put in a pole barn and it's a steep slope and you're not near any type of an environmentally sensitive area, and you're also, you wouldn't go through site plan review, you'd just be getting a land use permit, then you wouldn't be subject to the steep slopes provisions. One thing we talked about with Planning Commission is if you're significantly changing the grade, you still, would be subject to our grading permit and other types of requirements, but you wouldn't be subject to the steep slopes provision. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the steep slopes. This is just a introduction tonight. So we would, if there was no major concerns or red flags tonight, we could have it on the agenda in March with an opportunity for adoption for the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Mindy, did you have anything else to add?
Sorry, I keep coughing, but one of the things that the Planning Commission did was we looked at one of the more recent projects that we approved is up in Holiday Hills. There's a lot of steep slopes up there, and there was a lot of confusion on how that would apply to that specific development. So we looked at it, went backwards, if you will, even though it doesn't apply to that development. But we went backwards to see how this new ordinance would apply to that. And it brought a lot of the fears of what we were talking about down, because you can see the steep slopes over there, but it still allowed you to develop the majority of the parcels. Yes, there were some that would not be eligible to be, because they're so steep, but it made the whole development, and you could see what would happen. So that was very beneficial, I believe. So I think we've got a better product now than what we had last time.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have any questions for Claire?
Yeah.
Or
Just curious on, under section 2, number 4, item 3. It says, upon submission of a report and blah, 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 an execution of a provision agreeing to hold East Bay Charter Township harmless from any kinds of damages. What would that look like? Is there like a draft, or do y'all have like a template?
Yeah, so we will do hold harmless agreements. Oftentimes that will be written into like a master deed for maintenance, like road maintenance, for example. So this is similar, and these situations don't come up very often, but if a property owner is really they don't really have any other opportunities, then they would be able to basically hire a geotechnical engineer. It's expensive, and so it would be not the first resort, but it does allow that flexibility for a property owner to still develop on their property with the condition that they, East Bay Township wouldn't be liable, but more importantly, that a geotechnical engineer would be able to come on and make sure that there would be slope stability with
So
the
this
way.
is sort of like from a development standpoint, maybe a last resort type of option. If the standards that are outlined in the ordinance update would not allow them to develop, hey, you're allowed to go get a third-party opinion.
Yeah, and I will say that right now, this is in our current ordinance, this provision. It's related to anybody developing on any slope that's 15% or more, so it's a little bit heavy-handed, is what we found. And so right now, this would apply to only the 25% or more, and only in environmentally sensitive areas. So we feel that that's kind of more within the intent of the ordinance of protecting those environmentally sensitive areas.
other questions? Any questions? Okay, so the recommended action is just to notice this for introduction, and then you'll have notifications going out or publications going out after this, I can't recall.
Nope, it would just be on since we've already done the public hearing with Planning Commission, it'll just be on the agenda for next.
Okay.
And then if it was adopted, then we'd send out the publication afterwards.
Okay, well, if there's, go ahead, Glenn.
No, I don't got anything. I'm waiting to turn it over on my pile.
Well, if there's consensus, then we will put this on, we will note that this was introduced in the minutes, and we will put this on the agenda at the March board meeting. Okay, all right, Ann. With that, we will move on to the Corridor Improvement Authority Tax Increment Financing and the Development Plan. This starts on page 67 of your packet.
So this has been, I think this has been, it's been a really good process, just getting started with working with the Corridor Improvement Authority Board. Found them to be very engaged, just a really good group. We've got 4 business owners, we've got 3 corridor residents, we've got Beth, and then we've got Steve Faringas, a tribal representative, since there's a tribal property there. So just a very inquisitive group, very thoughtful, have been very engaged. Over the course of the 3 times that we've met, actually, we've met 4 times. Yeah, twice in December.
I missed one, and I know I was at 2, so I was thinking
Okay,
it was
you're right, 3.
but-
It's only been 3. Feels like 4. So over the 3 times that we've met, we've worked with them to develop a draft development and TIF, tax increment financing plan, per state statute. So a lot of the plan that you're looking at is very like formulaic. It's kind of based on how the state statute, all of the different sections that the state statute requires. There's kind of 2 parts to this plan. There's the development plan, which is very much based on the sub-area plan that both the Planning Commission and Township Board adopted. So we took basically all of the projects that were identified through that beach district sub-area plan and put them into the development plan. So that's kind of the list of all of the projects. And then the TIF, the tax increment financing component of it, goes through kind of all of the revenue projections and kind of what we're anticipating seeing over the course of the 20-year life of the TIF. And, we've had a lot of conversations with the Corridor Improvement Authority Board, as well as with other taxing jurisdictions and community partners. We are proposing a 20-year TIF for that tax increment financing, which is quite a bit shorter than what you'll see with other DDAs or other similar entities, but we're really, trying to put those guardrails in place and have a greater level of comfort with the taxing jurisdiction partners, just to have this be a more limited time span in terms of the projects that we're looking to complete. So in terms of our timeline that we're looking at, we, tonight, we're requesting that the Township Board set a public hearing for consideration of this development and TIF plan. So if you set the public hearing, that would be in March. We're also looking at holding a joint work session to review this draft plan, and it would be a work session between the Township Board and the Corridor Improvement Authority Board. Because the Corridor Improvement Authority Board doesn't formally vote on anything. This plan will ultimately be adopted by the Township Board, but similarly to the master plan, we thought it would be helpful to just have a work session and kind of go through, discuss any changes that would need to be made, just to have both entities comfortable prior to having an opportunity to adopt the plan. So we're looking at that special meeting March 24th at 6:30 for that joint work session. And then May 11th, the Township Board would have the opportunity to adopt the development and TIF plan. That would be the earliest possible based on state statute, because it needs to be 60 days after a public hearing. So if tonight you decide to set the public hearing, we would move forward with all of the public noticing, mailing, notifications. I did want to just give you an update that we have been, Beth and I, and also Chris Cargill, the chair of our Corridor Improvement Authority, have been attending some of the other taxing jurisdiction board meetings. So we went to the Beta board meeting and presented. We also were in front of NMC. We're also planning, I believe in March, to be in front of the County Board of Commissioners just to present the plan, as well as Grand Traverse County Road Commission. So we've reached out to all the different taxing jurisdictions just to communicate the plan, answer any questions, and are just looking tonight happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of the approach that we're looking at. By recommending this for public hearing, we can still make changes to it kind of all the way up until the plan is adopted. So there's no problems with adding projects, taking projects away, kind of reallocating some of the priorities. The priorities that you're looking at, and I think it says it in the plan, but what we did was we had a couple different surveys from the Corridor Improvement Authority board members, as well as our liaison group. So if you'll recall, we meet quarterly with a group of liaisons, which includes like MDOT, TART, the state park, the watershed center, the land conservancy, kind of all those agency partners. So both the agency partners and the board members ranked all of those projects in terms of priority level, kind of high and moderate, and then also in terms of complexity. So low, moderate, and high. So you'll see, like, if it's a green, for example, snow removal, that's a very high priority and a low complexity, so that kind of helps us identify projects that we want to tackle early on in the first few years of this project.
Thank you, Claire. I will add just a couple things quickly. I would echo the sentiment that Claire mentioned about the Corridor Improvement Authority, the members on the authority. I've just met some of them. They've obviously been through this process. Well, I say I've met them almost before, but more in depth, got to hear some of their perspectives, and really a good, thoughtful group. Also, I want to give a kudos to Beckett and Rader and Claire for how they kind of parsed out the priority and complexity to really talk about the low-hanging fruit, because we had talked about that, and it was, it's kind of hard to triangulate on just which ones you wanted to focus on, so that was very helpful. That was passed through the Corridor Improvement Authority, formally approved that in January 15th, as it says in the resolution. And then lastly, I just want a housekeeping issue. Two of the consent agenda items did have resolutions on them. They would be numbered 2603 and 04. And this resolution that we're considering on page 68 would then be resolution 2026-05. So with that, are there any questions for Claire on this resolution or the attached plan? Mindy, go ahead.
So somewhere in here, though I can't find it right now, is a bulleted list of the priorities. And on there is the sidewalks on both sides of 31. And I just want to remind everybody that there was a lot of pushback on the sidewalks being there across from East Bay Plaza. So just, maybe we word that in a way that says something like as appropriate, or where right-of-way allows, or something like that. Because we did have a lot of pushback on that specific item, and I think that,
You're talking on the north side of the
Yep.
highway.
And I think the language is fine. In practicality, there's very little that you can do in that side because of the right-of-way and what's already in the right-of-way. There's a tremendous amount of infrastructure already there. Matter of fact, this came up today at a meeting with MDOT. MDOT pulled, very thankfully, they collaboratively got East Bay Township and the city together as far as the planning department and administrative from the city. And we've had our second meeting regarding that. They're doing a maintenance project from, over to, where was it on the west side? To Garfield.
And then up Peninsula Drive.
Right. And then it goes from along 31 over to 3 Mile. So, they're doing the intersection this summer, beginning of the summer. This will be a mill and fill, small project for them. It's not even 6 figures, but they wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that the city or the township wanted to do that could work on the timing, because the project is way far out. It's like a 2028 project. They don't have additional funding for it. They do have some things that they could help with. Number one, just us all being involved helps from a collaboration standpoint in getting grants, right? So even if there was something and MDOT didn't have funding, they may have some opportunities with grants. That would be bolstered by all of us being involved, and to look at any gaps there. And of course, that area is right in there, but that has not been discussed because of the infrastructure that's already there. Instead, where we've looked at is potentially just right along the tribal property there, it working with the tribe to see if, that would be beneficial for that property. That's from East Bay's standpoint, looking more there. And then the city has a couple opportunities, but probably the one that was highest, that, kind of percolated to the top was, there's a gap, a really noticeable gap from, it's almost like 8th Street west.
Like Huron Street, which
Yeah.
is a little bit west of 8th.
On the north side. They have sidewalk for some of it, but just, there, 6 parcels or something where there's a gap there. So, none of these are by any means, this is so preliminary discussion that maybe maybe Claire's thinking, don't talk about the exact placement because it's so preliminary, none of it may happen. But, so we're well aware of, it's not even physically possible.
I just wanted to make sure because, that was the pushback, right? Was we don't need a sidewalk and this is going to put a sidewalk in front of our house. So I just wanted to bring that up again because it does say sidewalk on both sides of the road, so.
Yep. Yeah. Glenn?
Yeah, just for clarification for myself, on page 92,
Of the packet? Yeah, okay.
it's got no motorized connection, the city of Traverse City. Well, I thought we had all of that by the TART Trail. TART Trail ties into the city, but they got, and apparently I'm missing something, but they got $500,000 in the estimate. And then the total estimate cost of, that's all projects, it's 500,000. And I guess I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out what they're doing there rather than going down 4 mile, 3 mile, hitting the TART Trail. and
Yeah,
you're there.
so I would say that 500,000, that would not be bore on the responsibility of East Bay Township. This would be a collaborative project. If we did move forward with it, it would be an opportunity to collaborate with the city of Traverse City. Right now, one thing that we heard particularly from like NMC, but even like students at Traverse City Central, Eastern Elementary, there's not a great connection from the east side of Traverse City to East Bay Township. So there's quite a bit of gap in the sidewalk along US 31, kind of from 8th Street, the south side. So people that are like looking to access the TART Trail have a hard time getting up there. So there's an opportunity to have like a bike path up airport access, which is right at that boundary between East Bay Township and Traverse City, connecting people up to the TART Trail, better connecting the Pine Grove neighborhood with the city. So that $500,000 would not be all bore on East Bay Township, but that would be like a collaborative project if we were to move forward with like Safe Routes to School or a TAP grant with the city.
That exactly was some of the discussion that we had today with that MDOT collaborative group. As Claire mentioned, I'll just reiterate, we have a lot of students in that Pine Grove area who actually go to Eastern Elementary, and they don't have a good access over that way. So the extent of our involvement might be even less financial and more just our name and collaboration and being in a grant, so that the grant bolsters higher points with the grantee, so that we can help support the city in closing those gaps.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
I guess a couple of questions, clarifications. I know these are identified as projects, and I guess they could be looked as such, but a number of them are like kind of ongoing maintenance type activities, which will be a little bit different and probably easier to handle in the short term because they're going to have a much lower cost on an annual basis. I mean, it just as some added commentary, it would be helpful, I think, for most people to look at this and be able to delineate between what would be
Ongoing
more of an
versus
ongoing
one
cost,
time.
yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we could probably separate those out.
And then the other question I had, is there any, I see that there's some comments in here relative to reimbursement from the TIF or the CIA to East Bay Township for maybe expenses we had for auditing or anything. Is there any idea, rough order of magnitude of what the annual kind of ongoing budget? I'm sure there's going to be like a minimum that they're going to spend as a baseline. Do we know what that is?
Beth might have a good estimate on
So
audits.
we're coming up, specifically for audit and accountants, we are coming up on this year. You might remember for 2026's fiscal year audit, we're going to be going out for requests for proposals. But it still serves us well to talk with Raymond and with Maynard Casterison about what we will need from 2026, because we will have significant federal funds in that year, which we don't typically have. We should have about 3 million if the funding is still in line with that. And we can talk with them about, how much it will be to audit and the audit requirements for the Corridor Improvement Authority as well. Additionally, we will begin trying to kind of get a grasp on staff time through planning and zoning spent on the Corridor Improvement Authority. And we'll do that because we can charge back that time, just like we charge a portion of my time now to water and sewer, and Sam's time to short-term rentals. We can do that as well for the Corridor Improvement Authority.
Sounds like it's in the works, more to come on
Yeah.
what that might look like.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. All right, so this resolution that is on page 68 and 69 of the board packet, the two, therefore be it, it basically establishes that public hearing for Monday, March 9th at 6:30 PM. And then secondly, it says that prior to that public hearing, that we will, through your staff here, administratively reach out and be speaking with the Board of Commissioners, and Claire's already mentioned, we've been doing that with a meeting in front of the Beta Board, in front of the NMC Board, and coming up with the Board of Commissioners as well. And I do want to just thank too, I'm not sure about the Beta meeting because I was out of town for that, but with the NMC, I do want to extend appreciation to the chair of the Corridor Improvement Authority, and as well to Traverse Connect's Warren Call, who showed up at their NMC Board of Trustees meeting to deliver public comment in support of the Corridor Improvement Authority.
Yeah, we had TART at the Beta meeting, support with public comment, which was nice too.
I will say, Warren, it was particularly appreciated because Warren had just injured himself in a skiing accident and was hobbling on crutches, so, in the snow. So that was appreciated. But with that, what is the board's pleasure for any potential action on what would be Resolution 2026-05?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-05, a resolution of intent to adopt a development and tax increment financing plan.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, that motion is made by Walters and supported by Cook. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call, Ann?
Walters.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. This has been really a marathon of an effort, and we appreciate your work on it. With that, we'll move to the 3 Mile Trail Phase 2, the TAP grant for Phase 2 of the 3 Mile Trail.
Okay, so this, you'll see in the map included in your packet, that's on page 115. I think that's a helpful illustration. The red segment on there is Phase 2. That's the segment that we are looking to pursue TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Funding Program application through MDOT. So you'll see the Phase 1 that we're looking for construction in 2027. And then the blue is the Safe Routes to School. So you see the Phase 2 is really bookended by those two other projects that will be coming online in the next couple of years. So we're really excited about Phase 2. That we were in front of the Grand Traverse County Road Commission last month, and so they approved a resolution agreeing to serve as the Act 51 agency applicant for this application. They did want to make sure that the township would have ownership of the trail, would provide for the long-term maintenance of the trail, and so they wanted to make sure that there was an agreement executed. Their legal counsel is drafting an agreement that would be signed by the township to ensure this ownership, long-term maintenance. And so I guess tonight we're looking for two possible motions. One would be to approve the resolution to support the TAP application. And then the second one would be for Beth to work with our legal counsel to review the road commission agreement that they put forth that would be basically reiterating the fact that the road commission is not responsible for, they don't have the financial responsibility, they're not going to maintain it, they're not going to own the trail. They're really just serving as the fiduciary, the applicant.
Yes, I would just add a couple quick things to that. Kudos to the TART staff and Planning and Zoning Claire on the phasing of this trail. The reason that this is now considered Phase 2, you'll recall that previously there was a small portion up here that we awarded a DNR trust fund grant for just over a year ago. That was considered Phase 1. We had this middle section as Phase 2, and this third section is Phase 3. We did that because we were going through the grant process. It just seemed like that was the pacing that we were going to make. It turns out we've been pretty fortunate and put in a lot of hard work too, that we've had some successful applications, TAP application and DNR trust fund applications and so forth, that we were able to really, TART suggested, and we can just to rename that Phase 1. And they did that because they're really going to be constructing them all at the same time. We just kind of broke a log jam through on some of the grant applications and funding. So that's now considered Phase 1, and this is now considered Phase 2. It's worth noting that Phase 1 TAP application, the Road Commission was the Act 51 agency for that one as well. And with that one, we're looking at, in the next little bit, starting to work at what the flow of funds looks like, right? Because, how the contractor gets paid, how the money comes in from the state, and kind of just all those flow of funds. But on Phase 2, the new Phase 2, we're kind of back at the beginning with, not quite the beginning, but a little bit with the TAP application. So Claire is right, they did pass that resolution. They mentioned the other agreement that they would like, and that they were having their council draft. I did get that late on Friday and got that to our attorney. They said they would look at that today. I did get word back from them today. They had no issues with it except for one portion. So with that, I will go back and talk with the Road Commission and their administration and their legal counsel to show them what our legal counsel's recommendation was and work to adjust that for that language. And then we can sign off on that agreement with these motions in time for the TAP application. So with that, are there questions related to this TAP application or resolution supporting the application for TAP? This would be Resolution 2026-06.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-06, resolution supporting the Transportation Alternatives Program grant application.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Motion is made by motion is made by Cook and supported by Walters. Is there further discussion? Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote.
Cook.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
And Friend.
Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you for the work on that. I do, just a real quick housekeeping issue. I am going on this numbering of the resolutions based on the minutes, and I went from the back end of the minutes from last month because I was out of town. And it showed 2602 was the last resolution. There wasn't any more resolutions than that you can recall added on or anything, right? It looks like we would have had a resolution for, let me just get back to that. So I just want to make sure we don't have to end up redoing these numbers again. But I'm showing on the last page of the minutes, on page 18 of the packet, that it's page 18, yeah. that it says there was a resolution 2026-02, and then I'm looking for 2026-01, was the park plan application under the consent agenda. So I don't believe the fire ordinance was not in resolution. I don't see one that was for the ambulance purchase. That was just a straight motion, right? Okay. As well as the vehicle purchase, straight motion. Okay, all right. Okay, thanks for letting me check that. I was writing these numbers down. I was like, oh, I better make sure that I was right on that. Okay.
Can I mention just one more thing, trail-related?
Yeah.
So this is for the Safe Routes to School. We are planning to go out to bid shortly for tree removal for the Safe Routes to School project. And so that's just kind of a FYI. We need to make sure we go out, we need to make sure that the tree removal is done prior to April 15th for the bat habitat. And so we will be going out, sending out the RFP, and then we'd be looking for at least 3 proposals back, and then we'll bring plan to bring a recommendation back to the board for approval for a contract for the March meeting. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, now, we did the roll call vote, correct, Ann, for the 2026-06?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, then there's a second motion to approve or approve with changes to grant the.
No, I
township-
have us not doing any roll call for 2026-06.
Okay, I interrupted in that. So
Yeah,
then
because
let's
I
go
didn't
ahead.
write anything down. Cook, you moved.
Yes.
Okay, Walters?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
And Friend?
Yes,
Maybe we did do that.
that's okay. We'll be.
We'll be doubly
very
sure.
now. The second motion for consideration is to grant myself as supervisor authority to work with our legal counsel, and some of that's already taken place, as you know, and the insurance provider to execute that county road commission agreement with them.
I'll make a motion to approve the, move to approve
That grant should be.
the
out there.
township supervisor authority to work with
Sorry
legal
about that.
counsel and the township's insurance provider to execute an agreement with the Grand Traverse County Road Commission regarding trail maintenance and liability.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay. It is moved by Cook and supported by Walters to approve the motion as stated. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for being here for the agenda items, Claire. We will go back now, we'll swing to the brownfield that was in the consent calendar. Let me pull the page on that, where it begins. Should be page 32. Okay, Mindy?
I thank you for pulling us off the consent calendar. I just had a couple questions. It looks like on page 37, in paragraph C, that we are getting paid 10% a year.
I do believe that that's how they spanned it out. 10% of the reimbursement funds, yes.
And do we know about what 10, I can't remember what 10% is.
So I believe that was 300,000 or 400,000 for Crimson. Let's see, that was 300,000 for Crimson, 400,000 was for Live East Bay.
Yeah, but it's 10% of the tax increment revenue, is not 10% of what we have in that 300,000, isn't it?
So it's 10% of the reimbursement funds available for that year.
Right, so that's the tax increment revenue, not
The other
the,
option that we have on this too, and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority staff has been really proactively working on this with us in anticipation of us doing more. There's not as much to do until we get a little bit closer. But we do have, we obviously have the funding written into the redevelopment agreement.
they've got local site revolving fund money, right?
They have what?
LSRF funds that they could use to reimburse us?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So they, with Live AE, I still call it Live AE, I can't change the name in my head. Live AE, we had 400,000, and that was not reimbursable until the end of the reimbursement funds. With this one, we did ask for it to be, right up front in line with some of their other infrastructure. They agreed to that, wrote it in that way. Definitely on Live AE, the Brownfield staff recognizes that that's a long time for us to wait on that infrastructure and would allow us to do an agreement. They would recommend an agreement to the Brownfield to be reimbursed earlier through that revolving fund. And we may have that opportunity too if this shows that it doesn't.
Meet the needs of the township?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That was my biggest question was, 10%, how much are we talking about a year here? Because it could, $300,000, but it could be over 30 years.
Yep. Well, it couldn't be longer than their agreement is for, and were they 30 years? They were 30.
They're typically 30 years. I don't know the specifics of this one's off the top of my head, but that's what statute allows.
One of them was shorter, it must have been, was it Live AE was shorter at 20? Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was 12 years.
The 12-year was the special tax that we do through the state tax commission.
Okay.
So I think you're right that this was 30-year, and then that was 12-year. And I remember this board questioned, why are we going the full 30 years? And it was because they were doing, I think, more of the project within that, that target income, right? And, gosh, there was another reason too.
Been a long time.
Yeah, so, anyway, as previous with the Live AE agreement, this agreement has been through the developer's legal counsel, the Brownfield's legal counsel, on behalf of the county, and then the township's legal counsel as well. It went back and forth so often, you kind of
Well, that's when
wondered what
that's when you
rendition-
start losing stuff too, though, because you're like, I changed this, but it's not showing. And
I actually think the attorneys did pretty good on it. I think it was more administratively with the consultant and with the Brownfield and with me. It was like, whoa, wait. Which attorney has seen it last? But I will say Rob was, was one of the, not the first, but one of the more meaty topics that I had worked with Rob Thal. And he was very helpful and extremely detailed in going through this, so.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the development and reimbursement agreement between Traverse City Central Park LLC and the Charter Township of East Bay and the Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and to authorize the supervisor to enact the agreement on behalf of East Bay Township.
Oh, it looks like you might have had a question.
Yeah, just
So
one.
we'll get support and then go to that question. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Okay. There's a motion by Walters and support by Lyle. Further discussion? Go ahead.
Page 40 of the packet,
Okay.
at the very top.
That's our page 40, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
The very top, item F there, it references, I'm not quite sure on the wording here, it references that the owner shall provide a report. It says attached as Exhibit D, it's almost like referencing, is the report supposed to be attached as a deliverable called Exhibit D? Or is there supposed to be an Exhibit D in this agreement?
There's an Exhibit D of this agreement that's an example.
Where's it at?
The owner shall provide a term of reimbursement as attached in Exhibit D as the following. It may not be in here.
I think it's in here.
And I'm even wondering if it was in the document, if it were a form, a standard form. Let me take a look real quick. Who was that last time? Okay, Susan.
So the rest of the exhibits aren't here either.
Oh, you know what? I I thought I sent them to you separately. I recall, because there's quite a healthy
Yeah.
stack.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to even make this packet even thicker than it was with the attachment, so I thought I sent them separately attached. I apologize if I did not. I thought I did. But I can certainly give you those. Let's see. Send them forward. Okay, let's see. Here's the agreement, it's pulling up. A lot of this would, if it was, I think this was in that. A lot of those attachments were things you had seen before, like some of the pro forma financials. But these are the tables on there. Let me see if these are the attachments up here.
I did not receive them.
I
Okay,
didn't either.
okay. Well, I apologize, I meant to put that on as an attachment to the board meeting invitation and not clog up the packet, because it is even a lengthier document. Here we go. So was that listed as attachment or exhibit?
Exhibit D.
Okay. So your Exhibit A is the site survey and legal description, which you have seen before, shows where the parcel is within the township, the outlying boundaries. And then it shows what came through the, with the site plan for the planning commission. It also includes the warranty deed, which is the legal description. And then it includes the brownfield plan, which we passed and forwarded and recommended to the county. And
Isn't that Exhibit B?
that is, let me see what the top has here. That is Exhibit B, which we have seen that before. And I don't see an exhibit. Actually, I do not see the exhibit. List of figures tables, list of tables, figures, appendix.
Keep going.
Okay. Let me just, okay, the list of figures. I'm just going to
You're still
go.
on the brownfield plan.
Just go through these. Yeah, I am. Do you want to know what, oh, that's still in the brownfield plan. What page are you saying it on then, Mindy?
I'm not, I just know what the brownfield plan is. in it.
Okay. All right, then let me scroll down. Appendix 1. This is a resolution. What is the date on this one? The 11th day of August. That would still be in the brownfield plan. So.
I go all the way to the end and then go backwards.
Appendix 3 is notice to the taxing jurisdictions. Exhibit C.
There you go. So Exhibit C is in here.
Exhibit C is the certificate of completion and reimbursement. So basically, what that does is it attaches a narrative description of the activities that have been completed for the property as defined in the reimbursement agreement. And then that complete copies of documents and reports are as requested, invoices for the amounts that are sought by reimbursement, and substantiating documents for such invoices. Exhibit D, annual active project reporting form. Okay, so this is very short, it's not even a full page. This part says Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, the undersigned, which is Traverse City Central Park, submits this reporting form pursuant to the Certificate of Completion and Reimbursement Agreement between the owner, Grand Traverse County Redevelopment Authority, on or about the date, and it certifies the following: that as the owner, they are authorized to execute and deliver this reporting form and can commit the owner to the conditions, obligations, stipulations, and undertakings as contained in the Brownfield Plan approved by the Brownfield Authority and the reimbursement agreement. And it also then, the second point is it references attachment 1 is the report of the status of the project as defined in the Brownfield Plan. So they're all things that, it's basically information that they're sharing on their status and progress that revert back to that Brownfield Plan. It also has an annual active project report that includes the project name, the status of the project, the capital investment, the amount of new residential square footage, number of the units, retail square footage, which this does not have, industrial square footage does not have, commercial square footage does not have, public linear infrastructure square footage, so that would, I'm thinking that that would probably be our trail area would go into that segment when we were doing it, because that's where you would probably put the water and the sewer. Number, it asks for number of jobs created, retained, housing units that, total number of housing units, the rental incomes, and so forth. So it is all information. It looks like a standardized reporting form because, again, it does have retail, industrial, and commercial, which this project does not have. So if you guys are satisfied with that, and then I can follow up with those attachments for you, and we can pass that resolution, or we can choose to hold off on it. I do know that they were looking for that. We were kind of the last to agree because we were the last to, not to agree, but we were the last to take a look and have our legal counsel take a look at it, because I did not want to burn our attorney's time while they were still going back and forth. So with that, we'll be the last one of the boards to approve it and sign on to it. So I do know they want to get to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to pass it here. I know I have seen those documents. I know they're pretty standardized and move back to the Brownfield. Again, quite lengthy. So it's what's to the board's pleasure.
Well, we have a motion on the table.
Oh, that's what we do, because you have a question on that. Do you maintain that motion? And do you maintain the support? Okay, all right. So we do have a motion. Walters has moved, and Lyle has supported to move Resolution 2026
Wasn't a resolution.
07.
No resolution.
Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm on the CIA page. It was a motion to approve the development agreement. What page was the actual motion on? Because I do just want to restate it, unless you've got it there, Ann.
What page? Oh, I have
It's
the
on
motion.
page 32.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was going to say, I got the motion.
Do you want me to restate it?
If you would, that'd be great.
I'll make a motion to approve the development and reimbursement agreement between Traverse City Central Park LLC, the Charter Township of East Bay, and the Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and to authorize the supervisor to enact the agreement on behalf of East Bay Township.
Okay, so that motion has been made and supported. Any further questions? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on it, Ann?
Walters.
Yes.
Lyle. Cook.
No.
And Friend.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. With that, we will move to our next agenda item, which is East Bay Ambulance, and this is the hiring. We have Barb Boersma here. She has been interviewing, and I will commend our ambulance staff too. Notice that so many have really, in the past 6 months, 4 months, picked up those shifts, and very appreciative of keeping that going through the transition.
But we had 5 applicants for 2 positions, and we've made offers to 2 of them for full-time employment. And then we're also requesting to take on 1 additional part-timer. We've lost a few part-timers over the last year, and we have a well-known EMT that would like to work for us part-time, which is Lottie Bottomley. We made full-time offers to Scott Ullman and Chelsea Walters. Both of them are experienced paramedics. Both of them come highly recommended, and we're very fortunate to have gotten them.
As well as the part-time one to Lottie
Correct.
Bottomley.
Correct.
Right. So the, as it mentions on the cover page, that the wage ranges do fall between the ranges established in Resolution 2025-40, which establishes the fiscal year 2026 wages. And you do have the offers of employment within the board packet. Are there any questions, or is there a motion related to the suggested motion on page 116?
Move to concur with the offers of full-time employment to Chelsea Walters and Scott Allman, and part-time employment to Lottie Bottomley.
Support.
Okay, that motion has been made by Walters and supported by Cook.
I do want to say one thing. I am not related to or know Chelsea.
Oh, very good. And, you know, we may too say there is not another employee with the last name Bottomley. Previously, there was. He is not in the employee. He was instrumental when we were going through the transition many years ago from a basic life support to advanced life support, and he was with us for a number of years, but he moved on to a different industry. So there is no relationship there either.
Correct.
So with that motion, any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate you going through that interview process. With that, we are going to skip to the supplemental packet that is in the back of your packet and was put on your desk today. So, as you know, and I did see your conversation about East Bay 1, 2, and 3, so I did include in an email to all of you today the status of which ambulance is EB1, which one is 2, which one is 3, and the new ambulances that are coming in, which they're replacing. So it does get confusing. It even gets confusing for Barb and
I know I had to rethink of it.
So this is the oldest ambulance. If you remember, we did have this on the Township Board agenda sometime before, but we pulled it because that was the meeting when there was the accident, for which we were not at fault, thank goodness. So we pulled it because we needed to have that as a rig. But with the new rig coming tomorrow, and that is the rig that is the stock, so you say
Correct.
replacement one. And then in March is the ordered ambulance coming that we have planned on for, gosh, almost 2 years now.
3 years.
Yeah. So with those coming in, then we will have our 3 ambulances that we need for our primary rigs, our backup rig, which they all get rotated in and out anyway.
Right.
But this 2012, as it says, let's see, I think you had the mileage in here.
I think it's
yep,
97,000.
97,000, two-wheel drive, which we do all four-wheel drive now because of our area. It seems especially pertinent about now, right? So we do want to take a look at offloading this extra ambulance and not having any care cost for it. So you do have in your packet the disposal of equipment policy. It's equipment, but it really kind of lends itself to the same as far as vehicles. And comparable ambulances across the country. We do have a specific township who has inquired, who was interested before, still interested, as far as I know, and they would like to purchase it. So I don't think that there's, if I know you all very well, you probably likely don't have a problem with us disposing of it and declaring it excess and disposing of it, but we have always kind of looked at how we dispose of it, right? So in this case, you tend to do better with ambulances with specific reach of the marketer, right? So we have used public, haven't used them in a little bit now, so their name's escaping me. Not public warehouse, public, you know what I'm talking about, yeah. So we have used them routinely. What we've noticed before is the ambulances don't tend to go as high on there, and there's fewer further between there, because so often people either get them back to a company like EV Plus.
Public surplus.
Yes, thank you, public surplus. They usually go back to like an EV Plus to be retrofitted and sold, and then you get a credit amount, or they will put them on just like an ambulance-centric or emergency service-centric type of sale. So what Barb did, and I appreciate this very much, is we don't want to, clearly it's a township asset, and we don't want to leave any funds on the table. We'd also like to be good neighbors and partners to our mutual aid jurisdictions. And so we would like to negotiate with this township, and really any others if this township falls through, in just going for a direct sales price that matches in through here. And actually what we were looking at is about a purchase or sales price of about $25,000. When you look through this, I was telling Barb, there's several in here. When I looked through the first several, I was like, okay, we're about right on target with 20 to 25. And then I looked through a couple more and I'm like, okay, we could up our target a little bit, 25 to 30, which really tells me we're right in line when we were thinking 25,000.
And then about 3,000 for the power load itself that will go with the truck.
So does the board have any questions for Barb or for myself?
Just one real quick. You mentioned we get 4x4s. I thought the one we approved last month was a two-wheel drive.
It was.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was?
The Type 3s are only two-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yeah, but they tend to be lower to the ground and heavier, and it's a van chassis, so they do drive better. The truck chassis, we definitely want the four-wheel drive.
We obviously had a lot less choice with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, is the board supportive of trying to negotiate a sale with a public partner in our Grand Traverse County area?
As long as it's sold as is, yes.
Taillight warranty.
That was made very clear that it was as is.
Okay, well then, what we would request for a motion is to move to declare this ambulance, which is the 2012 Chevy Express, as surplus, and to allow the sale of the asset, and how did we put this in here? And to allow the supervisor to determine the most effective way to dispose of the equipment. And clearly, just like we've done in the past, when you've given me that authority, you will be given the follow-up result of that. But you know clearly what we're looking for. And if anything is substantially different, then we will bring that back to the board.
I'll make a motion to wait, I have a question before I make a motion. Do we want to declare it surplus at the end of the week, after we already have the new one, or is it ready to go now?
It's pretty much,
We need to take the radios out of it, and it's going to take me some time to get it, the other one with the radios in it, so by the end of the month, probably.
Okay.
Because there's a licensing issue where I have to swap the licenses with the state, and so I have to have the radios in it in order to do that, and they can't get me until February 24 at Telred, so.
I mean, declaring it surplus, unless you're aware of some other technical specifications for the surplus, we can declare it surplus and still utilize it within the next week if we needed to.
Can you declare surplus as a future date?
I don't see why not. You can certainly do that too.
We've got room in the garage for another 3-4 weeks until the one from Florida comes in. So,
I'll make a motion to declare the 2012 Chevy Express as surplus and to dispose of pursuant to the township equipment policy as of February 28th, 2026.
Yeah, it's it'll, it's the 9th. I would just do it maybe a week from now.
Well, Barb said that she can't get rid of it until the 20th
I have to-
anyway.
The new truck will get its radios on the 24th,
Okay,
so I can't.
Okay.
About that week is when I can get the new one licensed.
got you. That's funny because I had literally had a line in this and I ditched it out when I was drafting this. It was, administrative staff will, time the disposal with, to the township's benefit, basically. So, yep, absolutely. All right, so do you have that motion?
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, well, go ahead. Minnie, if you'd like to restate it, that would be great.
You ready, Ann?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to declare the 2012 Chevy Express as surplus and to dispose of pursuant to the township equipment policy as of February 28th, 2026.
Specifically, if you would include that the number 2, that you would authorize the supervisor to negotiate a regional sale.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Support.
There's a motion by Walters and support by Cook. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And let's see.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, you bet.
Because maybe I missed this, I know you were explaining it earlier. What will be the priority condition of the different ambulances after this all settles out in March? We're going to have a primary, a secondary, and a spare. Which is going to be which?
So the way I understand it, I've always understood it, they do have like their East Bay 1 and East Bay 2, which are their 2 primary rigs. Their East Bay 3 is their like backup rig. But truthfully, they try to rotate them
Yeah.
in because you
Correct.
want to make sure
Keep
that
them running.
engine's being used. Nothing's harder than sitting equipment, right, or sitting vehicles, right? Were you also asking which one is which?
Yeah, I was just curious, so we just bought a replacement one, right? The two-wheel
Yeah.
drive one that we
Correct.
bought after last month. That's going to be considered, what number?
So we just
That one
did
will-
this isn't an email to you, so.
Okay.
if
That one will
don't
be
get it
EB, that one will be
right-
EB2.
Here we go.
East Bay- East Bay 2.
EB1 is currently the 2016 that was totaled, okay? The new one coming in March that we've had on order for 2-3 years, whatever, that's going to become EB1, okay? That one is a 4-wheel and it was kind of like, they did it per their specs, exactly what they wanted. EB2, right now, is this one that we just declared surplus. And the replacement that we're getting for the totaled one, which was a stock ambulance that we're, doing with the colors, and it's very close to what we have, that warranted getting it sooner rather than waiting another 2 or 3 years, that's going to become EB2. So for your 2 primary rigs, you're having brand-new vehicles right now. As horrible as to go through an accident, and thank goodness none of our personnel were hurt in that, it does get us 2 new vehicles, primary right off the bat. And then EB3 is the 2022 that we, purchased about it's just at the end of COVID. You'll remember we took delivery of one. And it is EB3 right now, and it will remain EB3. So, but yeah, you'll find it in an email. And I have this placard on my computer screen too, because we also tag repairs and fuel, or not fuel, we would tag repairs and maintenance to it too, so it's helpful to remember, but it never stays right in the forefront of your thinking.
Are EB1 and EB2 both 2026s, or what are they technically?
1 and 2, one is a 26, and I don't know if the other one's a 25.
I'm pretty sure the stock one is a 25.
That's a 26.
Is that one's a
Yep.
26, the stock one?
Yeah, we were going to order a 25, and they were selling so fast that they gave us a 26.
Wow. Okay.
That's going to be confusing.
I know, but if you look at it, we know the styles of our ambulances, because the Type 3 is the van chassis, so it's got the smaller front end. That's going to be the same number as the one that's similar that we're getting rid of. So they're going to look the same to us, so the numbers aren't going to be confusing, because we know exactly what they look like. So it makes sense to us.
Well, it's not going to, my concern is the accounting staff and the fact that that you got two 26s.
They don't do it by that. Barb and I.
One's a Horton and one's a Road Rescue, so
Okay, that
they're
works.
totally different brands.
Yeah, that works
Totally
great.
different, yeah.
Okay.
Barb and I will do that when payables come through. They don't discern between that, but we'll put it on there as like EB 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
All righty, great. Well, good.
Thank you.
And we did take the vote on that, I recall. Yep, okay, so we are good to go. Thanks for the questions. We will move on to the sewer and water rates. And this is also the fire line rates and the billing frequency. So you have two agenda items really, really in tandem here together. The first one is DPW had contacted us for any sewer or water rate adjustments, which were discussed at your December 4th special meeting with Don Lund. And then they had also asked us that they would prefer to move the quarterly fire line fees to a monthly billing fee for ease, making sure they don't miss any, for whatever administrative reasons that assists them. Noah Carberg sends his regrets, he could not be here tonight, but you do have attached with you a Resolution 2026. This first resolution adopts the sewer rate adjustments and confirming the water rates. So what this puts into place is what you heard from Dawn Lund on December 4th. If you recall, she did get into the sewer rates amounts. When we last updated our sewer rates was about a year ago, and we put in I think it was 3% by policy that we were to do every year. Now, you'll remember, for many years prior to that, we overrode that and did not do an increase. And she mentioned last year, you need to make sure that you are doing that. So we did last year. This year, when she was looking at it, that jump in the sewer portion looked significant, but there was not a true need with the operation and maintenance with the sewer portion. So one of the things that was asked, well, if you're going to be so high on one, let's at least be 0 on the last. Can the funds handle that? And actually, that is what suits the funds better from Dawn's analysis and presentation.
I think you're backwards.
No, it was 9.5%. Did I write it backwards? Because it was 9.5% for sewer.
Yeah, you just said that the sewer was good.
Oh, I might have verbally said it backwards, sorry. But it's written correctly here, sorry, misspoke. 9.5% for the sewer and 0% for the water at this time, is what she went over. So when they asked for the water and sewer rate adjustments, I put the recommended ones in this resolution. It adopts the Utility Financial Solutions recommendation. It allows the DPW at the earliest billing cycle to adjust the rates. And then it mentions the adjustment for the sewer of 9.5%, and then it says that the water will remain unchanged with 0% change, that the DPW is authorized to implement the adjustment, and township staff authorized to take all necessary actions to implement, which is simply an email to them, letting them know, and a copy of the resolution. This
And
is,
the reason for the 9.5% is because we got these upgraded,
not really. The big project that we're doing, not really. It's just more that, I mean, if you think about it, our sewer rates are particularly low. So it's tied more to the expense of our operation and maintenance. And it's just, our rates are very low for that.
now are the rates gonna be, they'll probably be different in each township or no?
Oh, yeah, they always are, yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't know if they were trying to group them so they,
Because like, think about it.
because of the bogs that everybody's got, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, but think about it too, like, we produce our own water, right? And, like the city of, Garfield
Yeah.
Township buys their water from the city, Peninsula buys their water, so forth, so they'll have a different rate structure.
Well, unless it has probably changed, but it used to be Garfield was on, monthly bill was, if I remember correctly, 400, and we were at 600 cubic feet for the base. That sound right?
I don't know what they're at.
And I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like theirs was a different commodity.
Mhm.
Ours was, I think, 600 CFM,
Mhm.
and
I don't know what theirs
and
is
theirs
though.
was 400 or something. I don't, it doesn't even make any difference.
I can ask them though, just to give you the information, just out of curiosity too. You're right, because to some extent, it very much is beneficial through the DPW, and we have tried to do that as much as we can in many places, is to standardize them. You remember a few months ago, I brought to you guys a different rate for apartments potentially, and that was one of the reasons, was it standardized it across townships. So you're right, it makes a lot of sense to standardize as much as you can. Some of it's not going to be ever though, because of the costs of how we supply it.
What resolution number are we on?
We are on, I have 2607, 202607.
That's
So we
what I
do
That's the
too.
water and sewer,
That's what I thought.
27.
I've got a real quick question on
Yep.
this. I can't recall, and I probably should have gone back to look at some of the dialogue we had with Dawn Lund. We're adjusting the rate by 9.5%, correct? That's what we're authorizing. If I remember, this is just this year, but there's going to be another, as part of that plan, there's another proposed, is it 9.5 next year?
No,
Okay, so
I
this is
I don't know the answer to that definitively, but I don't believe so. This is what, I did call Dawn when I got this and spoke with her just as recently as last week, went over it and said, listen, this is what I'm putting in the packet. This is what I heard at that meeting. I want to make sure that you don't have an issue with any of this and you concur with that. She brought up her files as we were talking on the phone, and she said, yes, it was 9.5% for the sewer for this year. I don't know in subsequent years. I don't recall from listening in on that meeting, but I can certainly have her provide.
If I recall,
If she said that.
there was a bunch of different scenarios that could have played out on how it was basically, where we needed to get to in the sewer fund, how quickly, and where those adjustments needed to take place. And if I recall right, it was not a one-time,
Okay.
it was
Multiple
multiple
years.
years of increases.
Okay. Okay. I will follow up with her and see what she had in that. And again, some of that may be impacted too by, as she goes forward a year, those financials change, right? The number of users on it change, the usage changes, all of those things, so.
We talked about all that, I mean, the connected users and, those scenarios that might play out, but I just remember that she had a table there that was built to get to a certain number within a certain number of years, and it was kind of a lot of board discussion about how we divvied it up. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-07, resolution adopting sewer rate adjustments and confirming water rates.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Walters and support by Cook for Resolution 2026-07. Any further questions or comments? All right, with that, we'll do a roll call vote.
Walters?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes. Okay, the next item that is still, oh, thank you, Mindy. Wait, before I thank you, were you hot or were you cold?
It's 64 degrees in here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cold.
Thank you.
Well, we don't want you going to sleep.
Well, I'm gonna leave.
So we'll, now the second part of this agenda item is the monthly fire line billing. So right now, we do this quarterly. We even receive one here at the township. And for some administrative reasons, it would be better for them. Consistency is what I'm thinking, and just, the continuous nature of it instead of doing it by quarterly. And also for the consistency of seeing it, I would think, on the billings as well. There is a marginal difference in whether she rounded up or she rounded down. As you can see, I did put the rounded up on there. You're dealing with cents on it. We can do either way. It's the board's pleasure. But the changing from the monthly to the quarterly, and then those fees are in the resolution. And this would be 2026-08. And they are, Glenn, as you talk about consistency among townships, this is something that they were trying to do through all of the townships.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-08, resolution adopting monthly fire lane billing and approving associated monthly fees.
Or
Okay, there is a motion by Walters, supported by Lyle, for Resolution 2026-08. Further discussion or questions?
Got a question.
Sure.
So I know we're just talking about cents here, but I'm just looking at the scenario for the 2-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the math there. I've got, in order to, you've got it rounded up
Mm-hmm.
to 14, so that's a difference. If this is divvied up monthly at $13.34, that's 66 cents a month. And now it's gonna go to 12 times a year, so that's an
$10.
Yeah, an $8 increase is a,
We can most certainly round them down as well. I think it's, typically what I like to do is, I did not want to short any funds on this, so I rounded up. Similar to, I know when they do payroll stuff, they always round up, even if it's 2 cents, they round up. Personally, my habit is 4 and below comes down and 5 and above goes up. But it's at the board's pleasure. And we can certainly change those in the resolution here. They appear in the result portion under number 2. We could change that to 13. I think I would, let's see, 1334. So to me, that would be rounding down. 5334, rounding down. The 300 stays the same. And the 183 all of them are 34 cents. So we can certainly go 13, 53, and 183. It's the board's pleasure. And there's a motion on the table with that, so you guys let me know how you want to do that.
I think, unless there's a need to increase the rate for some reason, because, it mainly affects the 2-inch line. I mean, I just calculated it's basically a 5% increase, probably goes down significantly as you get into the more expensive and the larger lines. But unless there's a reason to capture, an increase here, I would suggest just to round them down.
And just for clarification, these are not residential
No, I understand.
accounts. Yeah.
I understand.
You have moved and you have supported what is your pleasure on your motion as it stands, or would you prefer to amend it?
no, find a way to do it.
Okay, so any further questions? Okay, then we'll move forward with the resolution as it stands. And we'll do a roll call vote.
Walters?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
Cook?
No,
Friend?
Yes. Okay, with that, Let's see. We are to the bond authorizing resolution. So with this, East Bay Township, I'll just go over the cover sheet for the benefit of the public, and has been working on the lift station sewer project for quite some time, holding multiple joint board meetings. We've published the notice of intent to bond. The right of referendum period for that has expired. So accordingly, we do have the timetable in your board packet that Benzinski and Company provided earlier this year. And those bond specifications have been sent from Benzinski to Micah Myers. Then Mark Nettleton, our attorney through Micah Myers, has provided our bond authorizing resolution for consideration. This will start the series of steps that you see in the rest of the timetable, which will end in a notice of sale in about 2 months and the supply of funds in about 3 months, which coincides with the beginning of the construction project. So I would say this board accomplished one of its primary goals, which was to receive the funding very close to when the funding will be needed, right? Not to sit on those funds for 6 months, a year, or more, or have them titrated incorrectly. Obviously, we still have time on this project, right? But we know our costs, we have our contracts. The only thing that I have seen that I think could potentially be a contract amendment is one that would not be related to our cost. And that has to do with, as you heard before, the city of Traverse City approaching us a little bit late in the game, but we're still collaborative and they understand that. And if we are able to put in the emergency connections for them, then we'll do so, but they understand that that change order would be at their cost. So this is, before you is a resolution 2026, which would be 09, and that's the resolution to authorize the capital improvement bonds. As I mentioned, you have the letter that accompanied that from Mark Nettleton. You also have that timetable that I mentioned. You have the bond specifications that were supplied to Micah Myers to create the document, and the emails between those contractors on our behalf. The budget implications, so far, this board has committed $1 million in cash contribution, as did Acme Township. At your, I guess that meeting was December 3rd I have here, unless I pulled the wrong date. December 3rd, December 4th, you recall the special meeting that I'm talking about, to discuss the sewer fund and whether the cash contribution should be $1 million or some other amount such as $2 million. I included the link here. I did talk with Dawn about that as recently as this past week, and she just stressed that, the bond now, the more you borrow now, the less we will have to later on a future project with some of those capital projects that will be coming up, such as the investigation of the line that we're trying to accommodate for and the repair of it. We don't know if that will be what state that will be in and for what length. So it's really hard to understand the cost yet. Although Wade Trim kind of gave us I don't know if it's a total worst case scenario, but a pretty healthy budget for that in a capital item. So as she said, it saves you from bonding again later if you reserve some of that cash now and stick to your $1 million. But we certainly can leverage up to an in-between. So this motion, there is a motion to approve the resolution, and then this motion also includes dedicating the cash amount that you would like to do between that whether it's 1 million, somewhere in between, or 2 million. Again, I would be remiss if I didn't reiterate to you that Dawn seemed to feel more comfortable. To me, it was her recommendation and felt more comfortable with the 1 million. Mindy, go ahead.
Well, the other things that she presented to us back then was that if we use up all our cash now, we're not going to be able to get cash later because our debt to reserve ratio is going to go through the floor, and we're not going to be able to get it because of that, as well as Oh, I just lost my train of thought. There was an,
Well, if you didn't do the rate increase, so that is where the rate increase comes, because that does help with that ratio, but that ratio
it
really
was
is
still,
affected by
it
the
was,
cash.
it was still with that cash, and then there was another point that just flew out of my head.
Well, we do share in the costs.
There, that one, that this one is, we only have half the cost on this one, where if we get it later, we're gonna have all of them.
There is also a cost too, as we keep these bonds, so the annual reporting that we do, I am going to suggest and implement, and it's within our spending ability to do it, but Benzinski and Company will come in and for a nominal yearly fee, file throughout the life of the bond, everything that's needed legally. So because you have to put the status of the bond, and there's like a checklist of things you have to prepare. And I think that will be good accountability for us, that if we have them do that, it'll be thoroughly done. It will be-
Especially since we're with two-party system, that having a third party look at it is. Did I read this right, that we can cash it in early, if you will? That's not the right term, but pay it off early?
See,
After 34, I think it was.
didn't he point that out in his letter, or was that in Benzinski's? I believe I included that in here.
On page 173.
Well, if you look on page 178, I guess this has more to do with this is from Mark, and he says he wanted Andy to know the provisions that were in the official notice of the sale. So adjustment of total par amount in the bond's principal maturities. The township reserves the right to adjust the aggregate principal amount of the bonds after the receipt of the bids and prior to the final award if necessary. So page 178. So we still do have some latitude, because I did talk to Mark about that. And I said, Mark, when do we have to, draw the line, on what cash contribution we're doing? And he said, I feel like, because I keep saying to Mark and Andy and Dawn, well, somewhere between 1 and 2 million, So even declaring that today, we do still have some time, right? So if we were to find, oh gosh, we went with the 1 million, but, we do still have some time based on this. Not much, but some.
Right, I'm talking about the end. Can we
Yep.
pay it off early? And on page 173, the redemption provisions, the way I read that is that after 2034, we can pay it off early if we choose to.
Page,
173. Or am I just reading it?
Well, I'm sorry, state your question again.
it's uncallable.
Through 2035. But after 2035.
Right, so we can, after 2035, we could pay it off at any time, right? Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Because I thought that they said that, and I've slept since then, but I thought they said that we couldn't pay it off early, but this says that we can, so I like that.
And we also do have, Mark made a combination too. Hopefully, we don't have this. Clearly, we've been putting a lot of effort into this project, but things do happen sometimes, and hopefully it doesn't. But he gives us the flexibility too that we need to, as far as purchase price, cash amount on the bonds, those types of things. So with that, we are looking at on page 128, there's a possible motion there. The resolution would be 2026-09. And then there is an amount in the cash commitment to fill in.
guess I still got a question.
Sure.
Why, and I know what meeting said, but, you know, we got a ton of money in the sewer fund. I don't know why we wouldn't want to give, instead of the 1 million, give 2 million, and just cut the cost back, because I look at what interest rate, it's a big chunk every month, or every year.
It is, interest rates are, this isn't a bad time to bond. As well, I think the point, well, you guys were at that meeting. I was not, but I was listening.
I listened to it.
Yeah, you did, yeah. But I think the point that Don was making was the cash needs that we have in the foreseeable future with an aging system that hasn't had a tremendous amount of capital projects, right? We've had limited, right? Since I've been here, we've done the Cureton Pike Place, we've done the 2 water towers being repainted inside and out and inspected.
That's water.
Oh, that's true, that's water. But in general, I'm trying to think of the other sewer.
Just the break.
Well, yeah, but I mean planned intentional projects. So we've got a system that was put in all different places, right? Somewhere between the
75?
50s.
75 was when they first were.
Yeah, I guess the part I was thinking the 50s was the line we're doing now, but that's different.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, you're right, was more 70s. So we're getting into that being 50 years old. So those projects that Brian lined out are projects that we're going to need to be doing. And if we do that, then what we do is we don't finance those, we cash
Well,
those.
yeah, but I can't believe that we're gonna have, what do we got, $12 million in the sewer fund?
I'd have to look, I haven't looked at it this month, but it would be in our financials. So what happens, Glenn, is you have to keep a certain amount too, to keep that ratio where you need.
And I understand all that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we got quite a pile in the sewer fund, and I can't believe that we got a call to use majority of that.
But,
And you look at the interest rate, you're $300,000 in 26, 27, you're 4, 5, yeah, 500,000 anyhow. Just interest, that's what I look at.
Well, it's all front-loaded too, so you're paying, you know, a higher share of the total interest over the term. It's front-loaded on the front, just like a mortgage
Right.
principal and interest work, but your point's still valid.
it is, I do think it's, when we're talking to that level, between 1 and 2 million, it's a judgment call. My preference is to lean on the utility rate specialist that we hired, because she does this every day.
Okay, that's my concern.
Yeah.
Remind me, we were just talking about it a minute ago, this page 178, the adjustment for the total par amount or the principal amount of the bonds. We reserve the right to adjust the aggregate principal amount of the bonds after receipt of the bids and prior to final award. So is this something we could revisit
It is possible.
before?
If we find
buy
that,
the bond.
if we find that, what's that?
That's before we purchase it.
We
Yeah.
have about another 8 weeks. If we find that the facts change in some way, shape, or form, absolutely.
I mean, I think it probably would be good, because, you know, I know we had a lot of dialogue about the different rates and the different ways this could play out in the scenarios, and I know the board's got, you know, some different opinions on it. It may be good to have Dawn come in and, you know, hey, this is your last shot at it, kind of give us a refresh on where the numbers are at. We'll have an interest rate, right? An exact interest rate.
Yeah, but we were pretty close to where that was when we went through that. I mean, I do think we kind of, not that we can't do it again, I'm not saying that, but we've been there, done that.
But we don't have a bid. I mean, they're, it's basically got a cap on 6%. I can't remember what her estimate was based on. I don't know if it was on a 6%?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay. I'd have to go back and review
Yeah.
that meeting. Otherwise, it would be her getting in front of us to have another discussion on it.
Right. I think what we could do is determine the cash amount, and then I could check with her the rate that she put in on that bond. If it's looking like it's going to be a similar rate, then great. If that bond amount was a much different rate, then definitely, bring that back to the township board and say, how does that impact her recommendation?
Okay. Could we, at a minimum, even with or without her, have a revisit of this topic before we lock down to the principal amount?
The board could choose to. It gives us that ability to for some time. Again, I just look at, Dawn's been here that was her point of being here and
Yeah, no, and she made some valid points, and I tend to agree with the approach there that, it seemed like there was a scenario, a worst-case scenario, that if we over-leveraged ourselves now in terms of exhausting the fund, got too deep into exhausting the fund in the interest of saving on interest for this bond, we could be creating a scenario where we wreak havoc on ourselves and maybe our options in the future if something were to come up, where we'd be put in a scenario of having to, I guess the only response would be to significantly raise rates, at some point, given whatever scenario played out then.
Yeah, the other thing too, and I don't believe that this was in her calculation with capital improvements too, but remember that there was a line put in by Acme Township in about 2016, 2017. It was not constructed in line with the contract. And so Doug and I have had open conversations about this. We've had open conversations about it with Mark Nettleton. And that is a topic we want to revisit pretty soon. We did not want to confuse the issue with this, so we will be doing that in the future. But we have a sewer line through our township that we don't have control of or ownership of, and that shouldn't have been done that way by contract. So that may mean,
We have to buy that from them then?
so Doug and I have talked about it, and we openly said, okay, if we had my way of negotiating for the township, it would be,
Give it to them.
that's half ours, and we're not giving you any money. And he laughs and smiles, and he's like, yeah, and if we had it my way, give us half the cash, or more. Now, actually more, because we're a larger percentage, right? And so we've agreed to visit the issue with Mark and take a look at that and see, based on the contract language, what was done, what can be done, retroactively, contractually be done. But that's also potentially, there are things out there like that as well.
Worst case on that, how much are we talking?
I don't recall how much the construction of that was. I did ask for that one time from Gosselin Zubik, and I knew it, but I can't say with any reliability right now. Safe to say it probably wasn't $100,000.
Well, I ran the home station of that four line.
That's where the former supervisor of Acme Township wanted to sell us the piece on 4 Mile Road, and I was like, no. And when we did the cured and pipe place, we found that was some of that worst repair we had to do when we did the cured and pipe. So, yeah. I'm not quite sure how that came about and happened. That was,
If I recall correctly, there was an amount, and I have one in my brain, and I'm not sure if that's correct or not, that was the flexibility point of the cash without causing us a debt to income issue. so that we could spend more than the 1 million, but not get us in a bind for future projects, yada, yada, yada. But that didn't consider that Acme project at all.
I just recall her being hinged on that 1 million and liking
She
the
was,
ratio.
she was, but there was, the math allowed for, there was some in there. There was some play in there that she wasn't, talking about. Because she gave us the charts at 1 million and 1.5 million and 2 million or whatever. Well, there was play in there.
And so we could do, we could certainly do, as I said, 1 million, 1.5 million, up to 2 million. Again, she said that just impacts whether or not you're gonna have to bond again in the future. The other thing I'll mention too is, you'll notice in the amount of the bond right now, we're not taking this out, but you'll notice it went up to 14 million, right? That's because, we're at a $16 million project, so you're saying, why are we taking out 14 million? We're not taking out 14 million. But we opted to go through the notice of intent and the referendum time period with the most amount that we could possibly have. And that includes things that I do not think will happen, which is the county at 2 million saying, oh, we're just not going to give you that money. No, actually, they're like wanting us to get it done, exactly. And I do assure them that on this project, you'll get to $2 million very quickly, and we can front that, right? So that'll be the first 2 million that we spend, basically. But truly, it's not under our control. And even more so that I worry about, not so much the county, is the 1 million in the federal allocation. Because, we kept waiting to hear this past year that was pulled or any of those things. It hasn't. We still have the 1 million allocation. I remember when we received it, it was good to year 2030. But
So I would agree with Matt that having Dawn come in a month, but I don't think she needs to be here. I think we could do a video call with her.
she is hard to get here. Too. She travels
Absolutely,
quite a
because she
bit.
lives in Florida
Yep.
this time of the year anyway. I think that we could do a video call and just remind us, okay, this is, we did just change the sewer to the 9.5 and left the water where it is. And look at those numbers, especially with the addition of the Acme in there, and say, okay, here's the numbers, here's what your debt ratio does, here's what it does, because
I'm sure it was a lot of information.
It was-
You guys were here in December.
it was hard to digest that quickly. And I think for me at least, I did digest a lot of it, but I've also forgotten a lot of it in the 2 months it's been. But things have changed a little bit as too, because we do now have a rate, very specific rate, instead of a projected rate, right, with a couple things. And so the pieces of the puzzles, there's less variables to look at in the actual. And so I do like the idea of, what I think we should do is dedicate the $1 million today, get this resolution done, and then look at it again in a month to make sure if whatever has happened in that month, so that we can make a final decision on the actual cash out of pocket.
That's fine.
When is, I'm not really familiar with public bonding sales, but when is our principal amount determined?
So,
At the end of the project or
No.
prior to? So,
for the purpose of bonding,
correct, yeah.
ahead of time.
Okay.
We've got about 2 months to change the bonding amount that we want
Okay.
to do, about
All right.
2 months. Yeah.
One of the things that I was considering too, and just my brain, is that there's a contingency fund on the contract, right?
Right.
And that maybe we just do the 1 million, and if there's any contingency that comes that's our cash portion that we do at the later time, so that we don't bond for that contingency up front in case we don't actually use it, kind of thing. That was another thought I had.
I do think they had some healthy contingency within the 16 million, but we can take a look at that again and make sure exactly how much that was. But yeah, that's a good thought.
So that if there is so then we're not taking too much out.
Yeah, I mean, based on the way that this repayment schedule is set up, a $500,000 buy down in principal on the front end could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars over the term.
Listen, you won't hear an argument for an adverse to financing things. You're looking at somebody who has no personal debt, right? I don't have a home loan, I don't have a car loan. Have I had them at some points in time? Sure, when I needed to have them, I had to have them, right? Kids were younger, whatever. That's neither here nor there, that's personal, right? Obviously, clearly, I would rather spend less on interest as possible. This is a different beast. This is a lot of money, and this is a lot of moving parts. And I don't want to get this fund into a bind. I also want to minimize the cost going to that we might impact future sales based on this sale, those types of things. So that's why I'm a little bit more conservative in what we cash contribute to it. Again, this isn't a personal checkbook. This is millions of dollars of infrastructure that is at 50 years. And not that anything is clearly erupting. We're nothing's breaking as we know. But again, why are we doing this project? Which, when we started looking at this project, what were we? 11 million. 11 million, 11 million. We asked a million times for it to go over, are we in good standing for that 11 million? Yep, you're in good standing at 11 million. You're in good standing at 11 million. We're at $16 million project. So that's where, like I said, it's a different beast than what some experiences. But I think that that's a good recommendation, Mindy, and it may feed right into the motion if you would like to make a motion, however, change it. Or anybody else.
I wrote the resolution number down, but then I lost the piece of paper. Oh, there it is.
I think we're on 9.
9. Move to approve Resolution 2026-09, a resolution to authorize issuance of capital improvement bonds for sewer force main improvement project, and to dedicate $1 million in cash commitment from the sewer fund, Fund 590, for the benefit of East Bay Township and this project.
And we will schedule this I'll get with Dawn and schedule it for a future agenda item in March or April. Our March is getting pretty full. I'm going to try to put it on March. And if we do have to shift to April, I'll make sure that we're still within the time frame with our bond council. Okay?
I personally don't have an issue with that being a special meeting, so we don't overload our brains again.
Okay.
We already have a joint meeting as well in March, right?
We do March 24. Well, Claire's not here, but I think she was saying, I didn't put the date, as you can tell at the bottom of this updated agenda.
It was the 24th.
Was it the 24th?
I won't be here.
I wasn't sure of the date, so I just left it with the notation of the title. Okay. So, with that, there was a motion by Walters,
Support.
support by Cook. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Okay, then we'll do a roll call vote. Ann?
Walters.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Lyle.
No,
Friend.
Yes. Okay. With that, let me go to what page we're at. If somebody has that page number, go ahead and shout it. I think
My packet's so messed up.
I think I've officially
181?
unordered my packet too. Thank you. Okay, so vehicle use policy was suggested last week, or last month and passed. I thank you for that. That was, I wanted to have that in place as we were having a vehicle that we're particularly not used to having. So, and it was requested too by the board, so tied it in with that. I did want to give you some information based on some of the discussion and some feedback on it. The volunteer section, as you have here, removing that is easily attributable to the inability to enforce policy requirements on volunteers. So that's a good call on removing that boilerplate verbiage. The personal use, so to speak, and I'll just mention here, it says, while the intent of the township vehicles be used for official business use only is widely supported, and I think all of us can agree on that, similar to the fact that less interest paid is better, but policies that rely on narrowly defined exceptions rather than absolute prohibitions are more credible and enforceable. We just dealt with a very similar issue at Metro as well. By explicitly defining limited incidental use and establishing clear accountability, the policy improves compliance through practicality and consistent fair enforcement. Recognizing that incidental personal use does not authorize personal use of township vehicles. Instead, it establishes clear boundaries and controls around that activity that's already known to occur. Specifically, I will tell you that when the past policy was given to employees to sign, we particularly had hesitation and questions from, I think it's fine for me to say, the ambulance personnel, because they clearly routinely are, at the grocery store or at some place in between that is not specifically related to a call or so forth. So they had some concern of that. But anyway, the point is, recognizing incidental personal use does not authorize personal use. Instead, it establishes clear boundaries and controls around the activity known to occur during authorized travel. Examples of incidental use include brief stops for meals, restroom use, fuel, when such stops are minimal, infrequent, and do not substantially deviate from the authorized route or purpose of the trip. So in order to, and it really struck me when I listened to the conversation, because I know, Glenn, you had made the point, and I think I understand your point in that you're saying, well, of course, everybody knows that someone might stop at the grocery store. That's outside the policy. We all know that, and that's okay. The problem is unless you incorporate that into your verbiage, then it's a judgment call on what's allowed and what's not allowed. But so what the suggested changes are, instead of just saying township vehicles shall only be used for township business and personal use is prohibited, in turn it would say township vehicles shall be used for official township business. Personal use is prohibited, except for limited incidental personal use, which must be minimal, infrequent, and directly associated with the authorized township travel. Examples of permissible incidental use shall not be substantially deviate from the authorized route or purpose of the trip, and includes examples of brief stop for meals, restroom use, or fuel. Any other incidental use shall have prior authorization from the township supervisor. Any incidental use that could not be foreseen must be immediately reported to the township supervisor. I can give you an example of that, but the authorized use, section 11, then would be added to. Right now it says, unauthorized drivers or misuse of township vehicles may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment or revocation of driving privileges. It would be added, or suggested to add, any incidental personal use that becomes primarily personal in nature is not allowed and may result in disciplinary action, up to and including termination of employment or revocation of vehicle privileges. Failure to obtain proper permission for the use of vehicle is considered an unauthorized use. So those were, I thought it was a good discussion. Again, trying to incorporate those narrowly defined, what some people may see as exceptions. So, for example, and things like this have happened, where someone will say to me, well, you know, I saw the ambulance at Cadova or PGOs or what, you know what I'm saying? And, or I've seen now, you know, we have the decals on the Broncos. I've seen that at, you know, that's a pizza or whatever. I can say that is allowable. He was between here and going to a site visit, and it was lunchtime. So he stopped, got a sandwich, and then went to his site visit. And I can say that is allowable.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of surprised to see that this was put in, you gotta put in that they're on a trip and it's gotta be that they can stop for gas.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
that-
gas is really,
That's
like,
kind of,
in that example, gas is, that is part
you
of
gotta
the,
eat.
yeah.
I mean-
Well, some people may not agree with you on that in different parts and times, you know,
Well,
again.
That, I'm just, I mean, you gotta give them a meal break, and if they're going from point A to point B in a meal, you gotta eat between there. What, do they gotta bring the vehicle back and get their own and go?
The examples I gave you are examples I've had of people who have said those things.
What is, I guess the problem that I had with the whole thing is when it was brought up that somebody could use the township vehicle for personal use, and I don't care if it's limited. What is personal use? And then, to me, it's not,
That is personal use, right here, that's what it's telling you it is. Very similar, these are examples. Going to a grocery, going to, you know, get food, a restaurant. That
that's not personal.
That can be construed as personal.
Okay,
But see, that's what I'm saying. You don't think that it is. Someone else will say to me, yes, it is. By writing it in here, then I have the ability to say, that is allowable, that is reasonable.
so what you're saying is incidental personal use is stopping for gas when you're going to a.
Clearly with fuel,
Okay,
clearly.
I'm just picking at it.
Mhm.
Okay, stopping to eat on the way to a conference is personal. That's what incidental is in here?
No, but what are the other things too, Glenn? There's a million scenarios you can come up with that don't fall in those. So you're at a conference and you don't go to for whatever reason, you don't go to the conference dinner. I don't know, they're serving fish, you're allergic. I have no idea.
They don't have one.
They don't have one, the moon is blue, whatever. And they don't go to the nearest restaurant. They go, you know, 10 minutes down the road to another restaurant or something. Whatever. That is allowable. You are, what was before was absolutely official township use only. And that can be construed very narrowly. This allows things that you think are, it's ridiculous, of course that's included. That allows us to verbally say, yes, clearly these are allowed to be included. And here's where we put the thresholds and the criteria around those narrow cases. It makes for a more enforceable, reliable, a more enforceable and compliant policy.
Why can't the thing just be said, township vehicles shall be used for official township business, personnel use is prohibited, period.
You gotta define the two, that's the problem.
You're never gonna define it all. That's the
Well,
problem. Once you start defining something, then somebody's gonna find something that wasn't defined, and that's when they're gonna get you.
So then, when people look at it and they say, that's clearly not allowed, and I say, well, to me, that's related to township business. You're out of town, you go for dinner, and you have an hour and a half to kill before
Going to bed.
you're going to bed, and you stop at TJ Maxx, which is between dinner and the hotel. Okay, someone is going to say, she gets hit while she's there, and guess what's gonna be on that police report? Where was it? It was in the parking lot and such, and someone's gonna have an issue with that.
Okay.
You put
I'm good, I'm good.
I know, but I'm just, you put,
You have to have the flexibility to allow for those incidentals, or else you could even cause the insurance company to say, that person was breaking township policy because they were on personal use, so therefore we're not covering it.
Okay.
yep. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna tell them, no, it's not in there, but it's accepted by Lyle's,
Logic.
logic.
Lyle logic.
It's not,
That's all right. I got one vote.
Okay. Did you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
There is a, yeah, now you do need to make a motion, is on the resolution.
29, 20,
Yeah, well, 09 was the sewer project, correct?
Yes,
this
so
is
you're
10.
on 10.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-10, resolution adopting an updated vehicle use policy.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion is made by Cook and supported by Walters. Further discussion? Oh, come on, Glenn, let's you and I go through some more examples. I'm just teasing you. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Ann?
Cook.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Lyle.
no.
Friend.
Yes. All right, very good, thank you. Let's see, with that, we come to public comment. Barb, you have stayed with us through this very end. Do you have any public comment? Let's see. Seeing no public comment, updated meetings. Our March meeting is March 9th, and as mentioned earlier, that special joint meeting with the Corridor Improvement Authority is March 24th. Okay, and I will check on Dawn's availability and how that fits in with the timing. If there are no objections, then we stand adjourned. All right, thank you.